Now in its 9th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey everybody, this is Alex and this is the Ramble. We go until midnight tonight from New York City. Ladies and gentlemen, from the west coast of the United States, it's time to check in with Larry Bubbles Brown. Hello, Larry.
Yes, it is. Good to see you.
Yeah,
or hear you.
Yeah, or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. How you doing out there?
Good, good. I just worked with our old friend Rob Schneider and had a good time.
Yeah. How's Rob?
Rob's good. He's got quite a draw now. So
really?
Yeah, I think. Forget he's been in over 70 films, which is pretty incredible.
I didn't realize that.
Even if a lot of them are not great, it's still impressive, I thought.
Yeah. Did you mention to him that I'd like to talk to him?
I did. He's going to try to get hold of you. So.
Oh, good. Great. I like Rob, I mean, I've always found him to be a nice guy.
He's a very nice guy, yeah. He's got... some people don't like him because of his views on vaccination, which he's had for quite a while. He's really into the health food, and I think he actually owns a vitamin factory, so he's
but
really into the health thing. So,
and that's that's his position, and he has a right to it.
Right.
Some of his political opinions, though, on things I don't agree with, but I don't choose my friends based on their political opinions. If I did, I'd have no friends.
Yeah, I think we talked about that a while ago, about so many people seem to think in lockstep anymore with politics, so you just got to put that aside.
It's not important to a relationship.
Right.
I don't think I've ever asked you your politics.
My politics probably would go, I think it's passé now. I kind of like the old John F. Kennedy Democrat Party.
Yeah. But what don't you like about the Democratic Party today?
I think it's got maybe a little too left. I don't know.
It's not a question of too left. Well, they use this term a lot, and I really hate this term, but I'm going to use it here. But they've gotten a little too woke. Is that
yeah, exactly. That's what I meant, yeah.
In other words, I've always hated people who censor people. I've always, ever since I was a kid and I went to that House Un-American Activity subcommittee hearing, and I saw a radio guy's career completely destroyed just by asking, are you now or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party? I've been against any kind of censoring, okay? People have a right to be entitled to what they want to say. And especially...
Yeah, because the censorship used to come from the right. Now it's more from the left.
Well, especially in the area of comedy. I think that's where it really bothers me. But any of the arts, I mean, I don't care if anybody's to the right or to the left. I don't think that should impede his art. And I don't think because he made some kind of little mistake 20 years ago that he should have to pay for it now. People change. They change their opinions about things and so on, and it's no different today. I mean, just because somebody said something 20 years ago doesn't mean he believes the same thing today. And what happened with the House Un-American Activity Subcommittee is people who were communists 20 years earlier or believed in the Communist Party or believed in just leftist causes were called to account for that, in spite of the fact that in all that time they may have completely changed.
That's true, and I think that a lot of people got caught up in the Communist Party in the 30s because things were so bad in the Depression.
Oh,
They didn't
yeah,
know where to
absolutely.
turn.
Well, they were looking for alternatives to this corporate and system that had brought them to despair, actually.
which is still doing today.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was really bad then because people were starving and they were looking for an alternative. And this idea of at least socialism, if not communism, seemed to be a good idea at the time. But now you go to the 50s and it's 20 years later, people change, times change, circumstances change, and yet they wanted to accuse them of what they did earlier on in life, And then they wanted you to name names. That was the other thing. They wanted you to be a snitch.
Yeah, I really hate that.
Well, that's asking somebody to bring out the worst part of them, the desire to snitch on somebody else to save your own ass. I mean, come on, So today, the left wing is really very, I'll give you a good example. Kirsten Gillibrand, right, who is our senator from the state of New York. I'll never vote for the bitch ever again, okay? And the reason I won't is because of what she did to Al Franken in Congress. I mean, he was one of the best left senators we had, okay? I hate to say that because I knew him years earlier. I used to play pinball with him, and I just knew him as a comic. But
really?
somehow he was able to change himself into a politician, and he became in Congress, I felt he represented my views more than any other congressman. And she got him thrown out and pushed him out because of that stupid photo he took on an airplane as a gag joke picture.
The gag joke, yeah.
Yeah. And she was terrible. She was just terrible. And I said to myself, I can't vote for this woman. She's she's everything I hated about people who were on the Un-American Activities Subcommittee asking, are you now or have you ever been a communist? I mean, it was just that kind of thing. And I just want nothing to do with her, And she sends me, donation things all the time, and it just galls me. But
didn't she turn on turn on Clinton or something too? I remember there was something about her, and she either turned on Hillary or Bill or something.
I'm sure she did. I mean, she's always, and it's not that she's a feminist or anything like that. She's just simply a politician who wants to get votes, and she figures this is a way of getting votes. It's terrible. It's just terrible. And you know what's happened? What's interesting is everything flip-flops. Yes, the left wing has kind of become the censorship wing of the party. Shouldn't say that, shouldn't do this. Oh, look what he said. Let's not ever let him work again, right? Mm-hmm. That's the left wing now. And the right wing is defending Putin. Defending communism. Now, where did that all happen?
The right wing likes Russia, and the left wing hates Russia.
Well, I mean, there's every reason to hate Russia, but I mean, wasn't there a time when the right wing hated anything to the left? And what's more left than Russia?
Yeah.
Even today.
Everything is flip-flopped.
Yeah, I mean, they're communists, okay? That's about it. They don't say they're communists anymore, but let's face it, with Putin in power, they're communists.
Yes.
All right?
Well,
because Putin was in the KGB. He has this whole KGB mentality. But, I mean, here, you have a president like Trump defending Putin. And you're going, what happened to the right wing? Weren't the right wings opposed to a guy like Putin? Weren't they opposed to anything Russian? Yeah. So it's a weird world we live in.
Do you recall, were there any big stars that were actually hammered by the HUAC
Oh yeah, oh yeah. A lot of them lost jobs. There were actors who couldn't work for years because of that.
Zero Mostel.
Zero Mostel is the first one that comes to mind. I'm trying to remember the female actress who was blackballed from working for quite a while. What's funny, and directors who were not able to work. It was interesting that in, I can't remember what year it came out, but a few years back, a picture came out called The Front, which was about something that actually existed, in which people would front for blacklisted writers, as an example. So if I fronted for you and you were a blacklisted writer, you'd hand me your scripts, I'd go turn them in under my name. I would then take the check and split it with you.
Wow.
Okay? And this was going on all the time during that blacklisting era. Well, The Front is about that. Starred Woody Allen. And it wasn't a Woody Allen comedy. He didn't direct it or anything else. But he wanted to do it because of the subject matter. And all the people in that film, most of the people in that film were people who had been blacklisted. The director of the film was blacklisted. The writers of the film were blacklisted. A lot of the actors, like Mostel, who were in it, were blacklisted. And it was terrible what went on in Hollywood at that time. Just
so
terrible.
That was the first version of canceling.
Well, cancel culture, yeah. I would say so. I always tell the story. I've told this any number of times because it's the thing that shaped my politics for the rest of my life. Is that my father they were UAC, which was the House Un-American Activity Subcommittee, were holding hearings in San Francisco at the City Hall. And my father wanted to go down to protest it. And I said, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going down to City Hall to protest the House Un-American Activity Subcommittee because, they're doing terrible stuff." And so I was very proud of my father. I said, "Can I go with you?" And I think, how old was I at the time? I don't know. I think I was maybe, I'd say 11 years old, something like that. And so my father's outside protesting, and I said, "Dad, I'm going to go inside and see if I can see the hearings." So he said, "Okay, go. I'll be down here." Right? So I go up the big, beautiful stairs at the City Hall. At the very top, they're holding these hearings, and I go in, and because I'm a little kid, they don't stop me. Little kids can get away with anything.
Yeah.
And I stand there. I don't know if I stand. At some point I sat. Can't remember. But all of a sudden, they call up this guy, and I can't remember his name right now. And he was a guy who hosted my favorite radio show at the time, which was a morning show called San Francisco Story. And what it was he just told stories every morning about San Francisco and about its history. And, here's a little tale from back when the earthquake happened and blah, 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 And I love that show, just, And it wasn't political or anything like that. And all of a sudden, he's called up before the committee. "Are you now, or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party? I refuse to testify on the grounds it might tend to incriminate me." And the next thing you know, I turn on the radio the next morning, he's not there.
Wow.
Okay? I saw a man's life literally destroyed in a matter of seconds because of this committee. And I, from that moment on, said, I will always fight this sort of thing. I will always be against this sort of thing. And anytime I see anything raising its ugly head that reminds me of this thing, I'm going to be against it. Well, today I'm saying that a lot. I said, because saying to somebody, "Hey, remember when you did that tweet back in 10 years ago? That was sexist. You're a sexist." And then
you can't work now.
Then you can't work. I mean, you got to know that you're only one joke away from not being able to work, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be terrifying for you.
Yeah, if somebody just, you can say something, someone's got their phone out, then it's all over the internet, and you're done.
Yeah, right.
I think the first version of that was Michael Richards.
Michael Richards was just stupid. You know what you know what he was doing? He was getting flop sweat. He wasn't doing well on stage that night. And all of a sudden he decided to go to where he went to in order to try and get a laugh. I think he was thought he was kind of being like Lenny Bruce, but he wasn't. Because Lenny used to have a bit in which he said every word for a different racial group you could possibly say over and over and over and over again. And then when he was through, he said, now those words don't sound so bad to you, do they? You know, and his point is that what you have to do is to take these words and not empower them by making them illegal or saying you can't say them, but you disempower them by saying them over and over again and making them mean absolutely nothing.
Yeah, that's so true. These people give the word so much power; it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. So I mean, it just really always bothered me that you know, that the left was becoming this way, because it was reminding me of that kind of censorship that I saw there at the City Hall that morning, in which people's careers are ruined by it. I mean, I'll give you an example of something. One example that I love to bring up is Louis C.K., who to this day has a hard time working, okay, at least in television. I mean, he was one of the most successful comedians around. He had how many different TV shows he was producing for FX?
A couple of TV shows, yeah.
Yeah. All of a sudden, one day, boom, nothing, zero, zilcho. He had a movie coming out, hardly got distributed. Got dumped by the movie company. Okay. He then got the rights to the movie, but nobody would run it because it was a Louis C.K. film. Now, do you remember what Louis C.K. did? I mean, some people don't even remember.
Yes.
Do you remember what Louis C.K. did?
Uh-huh.
What did he do?
I think he invited women to his room so he could pleasure himself in front of them.
Well, but it wasn't. I don't know if he was even pleasuring himself. There were about 3 women there who were all there to curry his favor, because, after all, he's an important guy in TV. He's an important comic, and as I remember him, a good guy to hang out with, you know. So anyway, he says, "Do you mind if I pull out my penis?" Those were his exact words. And none of the women said no. So he pulled it out. Now, first of all, perfect gentleman, he asked permission first. All right? And I just don't know how that's a terrible thing. You know? I mean, I wouldn't. If Louis C.K. said to me, "Do you mind if I pull my penis out?" I'd say, well, it would make me feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
All right? But none of these women even left the room. They all had the right to turn around, walk out the door, and leave the room, and they didn't. So, I mean, what did he do? And that ruined his entire career. Now, granted, he was on the leading edge of Me Too. Okay, he was like about the 3rd guy to get popped for this. Weinstein being the first, okay? Now, for a moment, just compare Weinstein to what Louis C.K. did.
Weinstein, a rapist.
And they put it on the same level as Weinstein. Right?
Yeah.
You know. So, I mean, it was terrible what they did to Louis C.K., and he should be allowed back into the business, and he should be afforded every opportunity, because he's a very talented man. And I think what they did to him was terrible. And I don't think he handled it right particularly. He admitted to it because he figured, you feel if you admit your mistake, people will forgive you. But that's
the dagger through the heart.
That's the dagger through the heart today. Yeah, in the old days, you'd say, "Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. I shouldn't have done that. I'll never do it again. Thank you very much. Go on making your TV shows." But we don't do that anymore. There is no reason for anybody to apologize for what they're doing, because all it's going to do is make things worse. You know? So, I mean, what happened with him was terrible. Just terrible. On the man, a little obnoxious and terrible. But the fact is that so far they've tried to try him and things like that. So far they've never come up with anything that he's guilty of. And
and that's I guess a law doesn't count.
Well, no, I mean he went to court in up in where do you call it? Up in Connecticut, I think, somewhere like that. And there was another case in which he was accused of raping a underage kid, or a kid who was underage at the time. All those cases have been dropped against him. He has not been found guilty of anything. And there are a couple of things in England I think they're trying him on, but that doesn't seem to be going anywhere. So my question is, if he's been tried and never found guilty, shouldn't we let him work again?
Yeah, if you believe in our justice system. If not, I guess you get convicted for not being.
And by the way, all the stuff he was accused of was gay activities, because obviously Kevin Spacey is gay. But I mean, the one trial after another, and he still can't work. You would think after the first trial and they said you're not guilty, they'd say, okay, we'll start working for a while and we'll let the other stuff flesh itself out. I'm not here to defend Kevin Spacey. I'm just here to say, what did he do that they've proven?
Yeah, he got the fatty Arbuckle treatment.
Yeah. Now, on the other hand, Weinstein, that's another story altogether. I love the Weinstein story because I don't know about you, but I even knew what he was doing, and I'm not in movies.
I had no idea that it was that horrible, yeah.
Oh, I heard horrible stories about Harvey Weinstein. I knew about it for years. So did all of Hollywood, okay? Now, I admit, he's guilty as hell. He's terrible. What a terrible, vile human being, especially to take advantage of women who thought maybe you'd give them a break, you know? Using your position for that sort of thing, and especially because he's such a disgusting-looking, vile human being, it makes it even worse, right? I often said to Marjorie, I said, if Harvey Weinstein came up and patted you on the ass, what would you do? She said, I'd turn around and slap him. I said, what if it were George Clooney? She said, I'd go, guess he just slapped me on the ass, you know? So, I mean, part of what Harvey's guilty of is being so undeniably disgusting, you know, visually. But nevertheless, he took advantage of women for years. And all of a sudden, they all came forward. After one came forward, another one came forward, and finally they were like, I don't know, 100 or some amazing amount. And, but they kept their mouth shut at the time. Now, you could say, well, they were afraid of opening their mouths, and I kind of agree with that. You know, that makes sense. But nevertheless, it's, you know, Hollywood knew it all along and didn't do anything about it, okay? They just even in one Academy Award, somebody made a joke about Harvey and what he did to women. And everybody laughed,
that,
and
yeah.
Harvey was in the audience, and he was laughing.
Everyone's laughing, yeah.
You know, so, I mean, Hollywood gave him a sense of permission. And then they all sit around later on and go, is it a terrible what Harvey did? We can't let him get away with this, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going, where were you when he was doing it? When you could have saved these women the disgusting thing of having to go down on that bloated piece of crap. You know? I can say that now because he can't ruin me in Hollywood.
He can't. I think Dennis Miller said Harvey looked like Shrek with an erection.
Really? Did Dennis Miller say that? Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh boy! But you know, but I do think that people should be called to account for their actions. I think the things like Harvey did were terrible. But on the other hand, I also think that we have to be careful about accusing everybody. So you accuse Louis C.K. at the same time that you accuse Weinstein, And who's he being compared to? Harvey Weinstein, and it's nothing like what Harvey Weinstein did.
At least the good news is Louis did win a Grammy for his album last year, and he is doing well at filling up clubs.
Yeah, but he's not.
But the TV's gone.
Yeah, he hasn't got the career he had. Hey, listen, we're running out of time here. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, my friend.
Always, my friend.
You are a great inciter of my ability to talk.
I like your history.
Did that make sense at all? What I just said?
Kind of, yeah.
No, it didn't make any sense at all. Anyway, thank you so much, Larry Bubbles Brown. Yay!
Catch you next week.
Now in its 9th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Okay, thank you very much, Larry. See you next week. Yes, okay. Hello, everybody. How are you? How you doing? Oh, my eyes are tearing tonight. I've always got something wrong with me, but at this age, there's always something wrong with you. No, we have what is it? 10.6 on the pollen scale, and my eyes have just been burning up today. So, anyway, I keep trying these various potions for my eyes and hoping some of them will work, but none of them ever do. Anyway, let's see here. Let's bring everybody in here that's waiting, at least at the present time. And we've got Kevin, and we've got Josh Wheeler, and we've got, well, there would be Jeff, but apparently he went away for the moment. But hi, Jeff. Jeff, you there? Oh, well. Hi, Josh. Hi, Kevin. Yeah. I'm eyes are burning. Boy, are they.
I've been screwed up the last 2 or 3 hours, man.
Really? Same thing, huh?
Pollen, I think.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because I don't know what it is. I've been fairly good ever since I had my eyes done and not have them burn a lot. But when the pollen gets really bad, it depends on, the pollen count doesn't really matter as much as what pollen is going crazy at the moment, And I don't know what I'm allergic to, so I should go to an allergist and find out.
Yeah, it can do no good. It just does it anyway.
Yeah,
I just put up with it.
Well, Marjorie goes like every month for a shot for her allergies. And none of this, they taught her how to shoot up, okay? How to take a hypodermic needle and stick it in her butt and put all this stuff in her to take care of her when she was itching like crazy. It never worked. Never worked, so. What can I say? What, Jeff? What are you looking at, Jeff?
Maybe heroin.
Maybe heroin, yeah. Well, at my age, I was thinking, if they suddenly said tomorrow, Alex, you don't have many more weeks to live or something like that, I would probably try heroin. But, it's a good time to try heroin, after all. Isn't it a painkiller?
Yeah, it might get a little fentanyl, too.
Yeah, well, no, fentanyl will kill me. And that's a good way of committing suicide, I suppose, is overdosing on fentanyl. But
well, that's what you usually get when you get heroin nowadays. They throw a little of that in just for free.
Well, don't doctors prescribe fentanyl for various things? Yeah.
They do.
So how do they know how much to give somebody? I mean, can they give you just the right amount that it won't kill you?
That's why.
Yeah, I mean, it's like microdoses.
Microdoses. Well, I've been told you can actually overdose by getting fentanyl on your skin.
Oh, that came out when it first came out, but I don't think that's true anymore.
But I don't know. A lot of drugs can seep through the skin.
Yeah.
And can do them. You do it.
But I remember when they first came out, they said that, the cops had to wear rubber gloves and it would go through your skin and everything else, but I don't think that happened.
Yeah, but, fentanyl isn't a big deal anymore because the press isn't making a big deal of it.
Right, exactly.
Right now they're on to AI. That's the latest bugaboo.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And once they get tired of AI, I don't know. Will they ever get back around to Trump again? I don't know. You know.
Oh yeah, they will. Don't fret.
Boy, I'm telling you, I got. You know, we were talking the last couple of nights with what's his name? The ex-cop calls here.
Alan. Or Phil, whichever
and Phil, and they were both saying, "Oh, you know, you got to see this thing. You got to see the actual videos of what went on with that guy in New York, with the guy in the subways."
Yeah.
And Phil sends it to me last night. You know, he always sends me stuff. I very seldom look at it, you know, but he sent it to me. So I watched it. And I wrote him back and I said, "So what are you trying to prove by this video?" "Oh, they turned him on his side." "Oh, wow. Isn't that wonderful? After strangling him to death, they turned him on his side. Oh, well, that's enough to get him off." You know, I mean,
I think I've looked at probably 8 or 10 of those videos, and I don't see what the hell they're trying to defend.
You can't. Well, you can't. As I was saying last night, how can you defend it? The guy's dead.
Right.
You know, and obviously at the hands of somebody who shouldn't have been strangling him in the first place.
Right.
You know. Oh, but he was a former Marine, so I guess that gives him the right to do it. And then they're saying, "What one?"
I was saying last night. I said that they're trained to do that in combat, but they're not trained to do it on the street.
Yeah.
So they need to kind of figure that one out first.
Well, in combat, you want it to be lethal.
Right.
And so that's probably the only form of it you were taught.
Correct.
And that's the form he did on that guy in the subway. It just, I don't know. Just somebody's dead, and I'm sick of this stuff, you know. At least it wasn't a gun, you know. Yes, Jeff.
I think that when they're learning how to do this,
Get a little closer to your mic.
when they do this to learn
Yeah.
how to do this choke thing, that they do it to other guys. And of course, they're supposed to survive at the end.
Well, they do it to other guys in practice. But
Right,
then,
other
of course, there's
Marines.
always somebody there to say, "Okay, that's enough, stop it. We don't want him passing out or anything."
Well, they can pass off a little bit, but they better not
You
kill 'em.
pass out a little bit? I think passing out is an absolute. You either pass out or you don't pass out. You know?
And then they had another guy on him, and he was sitting there helping him, that I could see.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he was holding his hands down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a tragic situation. But I don't see any difference between this guy and Bernie Getz, who years ago went down into the subway and started shooting guys because he felt they were threatening. You know, I mean, this went on. That was one of the most celebrated cases at that time, and he managed to leave somebody for the rest of his life unable to walk. You know.
Yeah, just a couple of ex-cops trying to make it justified, I guess.
Well, I mean, I just felt that Phil was like, and Alan were both saying, "Oh, well, you know, he did the right thing. He put him on his side." Yeah, after he was almost dead. You know, you do that when you've made. All you need to do is bring somebody to the point where they pass out, okay, and then you let go. But he kept going. The guy was out for a couple of minutes there, if you look at the video. But and you didn't even know about that story, right, before we told it to you.
No, I didn't. I just caught a part of it. Didn't really pay attention to it until I started looking it up today.
Yeah.
Wanted to see what's going on.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
You can't tell. You know, you got 18 different, you know, views of it. They're all the same, and most of the time the media is talking over it, or they're blaring out faces, and you can't tell what goes on. So you just got to figure out what happens in court.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Well, anyway, I mean, it'll be tried in court, and fine. You know, as it should be.
Yeah.
Think about 3 years.
Hmm?
We really cleaned up the subway
What?
and made it safe.
They made it safe?
Yeah.
Not
remember
really.
3 years
Not
ago?
not really. Not really. You know what's happened? Something happened that I predicted to Marjorie a while back when we were in the midst of COVID. I said, when this thing is all over, you just watch what happens to this town. I mean, it's going to be like Wild West City because people are just going to go crazy from having been cooped up for 2 years, right? And that's exactly what's happened. You know, it's insane supposedly in the subways. I don't take the subway unless I absolutely have to. You know, and it's dangerous. They've never been terrific, but boy, I'm telling you, it's supposedly it's not very good down there now. And then you have rats stealing pizza too, so you know that happens too. So.
That's okay.
Yeah. Have you been following this thing at all, Josh?
No, not that particular one. Not really.
Yeah.
I saw the headlines and that sort of thing, and that's about all I know about it.
Yeah.
Just what I've overheard here, you know, and maybe just headlines I caught, but that was about it.
Yeah.
Was this the police?
No.
Like off-duty police, or
no,
just
no.
civilian?
No. This was a guy, a Marine, an ex-Marine.
Yeah.
Who some guy was in the subway, a homeless guy who is also a Michael Jackson impersonator. I don't know.
Yeah.
Two go hand in hand with each other, but and he was, I guess, acting up in the subway. People felt threatened by him. But listen, I've been in the subway any number of times, and there've been guys down there who I felt threatened by. You know,
I mean, which is, you know, understandable, but I mean, that's what the, you know, police are for, and the transit authority, or what.
Well, apparently there was no, you know, when you're driving, when you're in the subway and you're between stations, you can bet your life that you're not going to be able to call a cop, you know.
Yeah, right. But I mean, you know, taking some action to hold over until you get to the stop is, you know.
Well, I would imagine
understandable, but
he was doing this to this guy for maybe, what do they say, 15 minutes or something, or some inordinate amount of time, and they certainly would have hit a station at that point.
Yeah, or
and I'm surprised somebody didn't run out and get a cop. You know.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I would assume there's a way, if there's some kind of situation, for someone to alert the conductor.
Also, halfway between the end of the train and the beginning of the train is a person who sits there with the window down at every station, looking both ways to make sure everybody's in the car before he closes the door. He's the guy that closes the door. Yeah. And certainly, somebody could have run out and very easily gotten to him, or to the conductor in the front. And done something about it. You know, said we have something a problem going on back there.
Well, don't they have emergency pull stations on those cars? I don't remember last I was.
Well, they do, but you know, sometimes you really don't want to do that because all it's going to do is stop you in the middle of the between two stations.
Oh, they don't call up front or anything?
No. I don't think there's any way you can talk to the conductor. You can pull a thing and say stop the train. You know, we got an emergency here.
Because like Bart has an intercom you can call up front and say, okay, this is going on up here.
But anyway, all I'm saying is this again is a guy who he was trained by the Marines. He's not trained to be non-lethal. You know,
trained to be lethal.
Huh?
He's trained to kill people.
Yeah, absolutely. He's trained to kill people. So.
Well, he carried out his job.
Yeah, that's for damn sure.
He had his uniform.
He gets an A+.
Well, he didn't have a uniform, and he hasn't been in the Marines for a while, I don't think. But then they're saying, oh, he's an honored Marine. He got this medal and he got that medal, and so on.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. But this guy's still dead, and I don't care how many medals he's got. What he did killed somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We don't have.
I could probably see it if he was wielding a knife or, you know, throwing around a gun or something like that, and he did that. Maybe that's a different story.
Well, I mean,
he wasn't doing that.
As I said, you know, if he felt threatening to the people there, a lot of times I've been on subway trains and there have been people that have just been crazy, you know, and you feel a little threatened by them, and it makes you feel uncomfortable. Maybe you move to the other side of the car or something like that to get away from them. But hell, I have a video of some guy taking his clothes off in the middle of a ride, you know, and just butt ass naked for the rest of the trip, and you know, those kind of things go on in the subway all the time, and I'm sure this guy probably made people feel uncomfortable and threatened, but that doesn't carry with it the death penalty, you know, and you have to be very careful when you use this. I mean, I don't know why they didn't teach them in the Marines. You just don't do this once you get back into civilian life. But the problems with people who are trained by the military is there's no kill switch. You know, they let them out. They say, goodbye, thank you so much for your service. And by the way, now that we've left you half crazy, you know, and insensitive to pain and suffering, we will just say goodbye to you and let you on your own. And then he goes down into a subway and did what he did. You know. Yeah. And by the way, there were 3 guys there. They could have subdued this guy without choking him. You know. So it's sad. But what's more sad is that, you know, that I get these things from Phil saying, and what he sent it to me from was, it wasn't even a standard kind of resource to get this stuff from. It was something like...
Oh, he said he got it from some police publication.
Publication, yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, and they're always going to defend this kind of action, you know. One of the people saying that it was fine and it was okay was Bernard Carrick in a tweet. And Bernard Carrick is the former police chief of New York City who wound up in jail, in prison for a couple of years. So I don't know if I trust him as a source, you know. So anyway, what's new, Josh? By the way, there's nobody else calling tonight.
Not a whole lot new.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same old, I guess, going this week. But the you know, I didn't watch it, but I know CNN had Trump on for their hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever.
Well,
they did.
I'll tell you that thing.
You know,
that thing is causing CNN no end of grief.
Well, I mean, it's hard to feel sorry, you know, for him at this point. I mean, it's not as if, I mean, it wasn't surprising, right? I mean,
well, here's what they did. Here are a couple of things they did wrong. Number one, they called it a town hall meeting. Okay.
Right.
And then they said,
well, it wasn't.
all the people in the town hall, in the audience, were Trump supporters. They said that. You know, they said they were Republicans and they were Trump supporters.
Right.
Now, if you're holding a town hall, don't you have a nice mixture of everybody?
Well, that's the idea, but you know, Trump isn't going to do that.
Yeah, but isn't you know? I mean, last night again, you know, Phil was complaining that, oh well, you know, that woman shouldn't have gone after him. It was a town hall. The audience is supposed to ask him questions. But all the questions from the audience were softball. They all loved him. They laughed at all his jokes against, you know, the woman he raped. You know, I mean, they were laughing at him.
Yeah, I mean, so what woman was he saying? The moderator?
No,
is that who he was talking about?
No. The woman who they found him guilty of sexual harassment or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And he pulled some joke about her again. She's thinking of suing him again because he again did other things, which again were, you know, the thing that she got the money.
But is that who Phil was saying shouldn't have gone after him?
No.
That's what I was asking about.
It was the host. This woman,
right? The moderator.
The moderator's the host. Who at one point he said you're a very mean woman or something to that extent.
Yeah, I mean that's his typical. That's, you know.
Yeah, but you know we shouldn't just say, oh, that's his typical this or it's his typical that. This is a guy who's running for president of the United States, for crying out loud, and he should have a little bit more restraint than that.
He should, but he doesn't.
Yeah, well, then why does anybody think he should be president of the United States?
That's a good question. I mean, and we'd have to ask them because I don't think it, and I, I don't support it. I mean, he's not qualified at all. But look, they're under some sort of hypnotism or something like that. I mean, hypnosis or whatever. I mean, I don't know, because I just, like I said, I don't trust any of these people, and I laugh. I mean, I see Mitt Romney, the day before, the day of, or the day after that, or whatever. Well, he is not qualified to be president. I'll lay $100 bill down right now. It says if he wins, Romney will serve in his cabinet. Because that's what pieces of shit like him do. Yeah. I mean, so. I mean, I don't. Like I said, for as much as people think Romney's decent, he's a snake like all the rest of them. I mean, if he thinks he can get just a wee bit closer to the power, that's what he'll do, And then when it's all said and done, he'll write a book and say, oh, he was a train wreck. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, but you didn't mind doing it and taking the money at the same time. So, it's hard to, I mean, I hear, CNN pushing back, and, they have their homeboy Anderson Cooper go on there and talk about how you should be open to everyone's ideas, and if you only interview people you agree with. Look, I get that. Okay,
well,
Anderson,
I understand what Anderson was trying to say, but he said it wrong.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not, mentally challenged, okay? That's the right word, today. Okay, we used to say retarded, but now we say mentally challenged, okay?
I like retarded. I think it's a funny word.
This wasn't a debate between two people who didn't agree. I mean, this wasn't, like Newt Gingrich debating, Bernie Sanders, exchanging whatever. This was just a person on there that is basically a criminal. And I mean, among other things, so it's not about hearing other people's ideas and all that. As you know, I'm as for that as a person can get, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm as open-minded about all that kind of stuff and everything as you can get, but that wasn't what happened. What happened was they basically gave him an infomercial.
Well, no, also they allowed an hour's worth of lies to be spewed.
Yeah.
And the fact is that a responsible journalist, as this woman was, should challenge that. Somebody should challenge it. They shouldn't let things like that go unchallenged.
Yeah, I mean,
and what Phil was griping about was that she was challenging everything he was saying. Well,
I mean, when someone asks to be the president of the United States, I would think that's.
And then they said, this is supposed to be a town hall. Aren't people supposed to ask questions of him?
Yeah,
yes, but that's where CNN made their mistake. They should have said half the audience is going to be against him, and 50% of the audience is going to be his people. Okay? And that's the way it's going to be. However, if they did that, Trump would have never shown up.
Right. And that would be his prerogative and his right. I mean, I get that he's not the only politician that isn't really going to do these town halls, fair and square and pre-screened questions and all that. And listen, there's some chicken shit Democrats and whatnot that would only do it in those cases. So I get that, but and that's fine. So
yeah, but they so desperately wanted him because they're so hurting for ratings.
Right.
That they saw this as a ratings bonus, and they would probably then start kissing the ass of an audience who wouldn't have thought ever to watch CNN.
Right. Yeah, that's all it was. I mean, it wasn't to inform the public. It wasn't to, raise the level of debate. It wasn't in the name of fairness and the free exchange of ideas. That's what I'm saying. There was no free exchange of ideas. There was no debate. It was an infomercial. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they paid him an appearance fee. And I wouldn't be surprised if he asked for one because he's that arrogant and they're that stupid.
Yep. You're right.
I mean,
you're right.
I'm the perfect match.
Kevin,
I
is
mean,
there?
that's,
Yeah,
you know.
Kevin, is there some kind of ball game on tonight?
Yeah, I'm watching the Warriors game.
Oh, maybe that's why I'm not getting that many calls tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
it's possibly the last game. They're way behind.
Oh, really?
Well, they're not way behind right now. It's
Maybe-
halftime.
You know,
Maybe
folks,
Phil turned everybody off last night.
that could be too.
You know, I mean,
Usually Friday
Yeah.
nights we're filled up with people, but
at
Yeah.
some point, you know, it's fine to support a person, and I don't have any problem with that. But when people do things that are wrong or whatever, just because you like them, is fine. But you know, they're the ones crying about the open exchange of ideas and all that, but they're not the ones willing to participate in it.
right.
I mean,
Right.
I mean, and he's not here, and so I get it, but I don't genuinely see Phil as a person interested in the free exchange of ideas. Phil is interested in you accepting what he has to say as being right, and past that, he's not interested. To me, that's what I normally see or witness.
Well,
You know,
he always takes a pre-programmed position on stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
and Trump's deal. I mean, that's what I'm saying. There was no free exchange of ideas. There was no informing the public. He hasn't said anything that he doesn't always say. It's the same stuff over and over and over again. If you're not informed by now about what Trump thinks on an issue or has to say, I mean, you know, I'm sorry, but you know, then you're an idiot. So go on the internet and look it up. You don't need to watch it on CNN, and they don't need to be allowing him to broadcast that stuff. I mean, look, if they want to do it, it's fine. I didn't watch it. This is
listen,
America. They got the right to put it on.
if-
I got the right to not
If
watch
somebody comes on my show and says something erroneous or something I consider insightful or whatever, I'm going to challenge that person. And that's exactly what this woman did. I mean, she was the only sensible person in the whole room. Everybody else was a raving maniac.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
audience was
you know.
cheering him on. None of them were going boo or anything like that, you know. And then when he pulled a joke about this E. Jean Carroll and calling her, you know, whatever he calls her.
Yeah, I didn't hear it. But
They were all applauded and laughed and thought that was hilarious. And when he
So cute,
when
right.
when he told the host of the show, again a woman,
right.
boy, you're a mean person or something like that. I can't remember what the thing was he said exactly, but it wasn't nice. And
Well, you're a nasty person. That's he always says you're a nasty
person. Then the whole audience laughed. What it is, we are not having a guy running for president. He's running to win last comic standing. You know, and goes up there and he doesn't act like a comic. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
And they all want to laugh at him. They came for the laughs. They didn't come for for any kind of intelligent discussion of the issues. And
yeah, I mean, you know,
He's a shepherd and they're sheep.
well, yeah, but I
mean, I don't, you know, I don't understand why it's not okay for someone who supports him, such as Phil or whatever, sometimes when he does things or says things, to say, you know what, that's not right. I don't agree with that. Or he shouldn't do that. Or, you know, that's wrong or whatever. I mean, I've come on this program for years and been critical of Barack Obama. And, you know, at times, I mean, not critical overall. I voted for it, right?
When I was at Sirius XM, I was critical of Barack Obama on many occasions.
Right.
In fact,
Same thing with Joe Biden.
it may be the reason I lost my job over there.
Yeah, I agree. And that's what I'm saying. Critical. That doesn't mean I still didn't like him, that I still didn't vote for him, that I still wasn't a supporter. But on this particular day, on Tuesday, the whatever, when he did something, I said, I don't think that's what I'd have done. I don't like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, I wasn't afraid to say it. I mean, you know, if you didn't agree or if it was wrong, say that it was wrong. Now, the difference between perhaps this and that is that when they did something wrong, it tended to be a policy that I didn't really support or think was the right way to go or whatever. And when Trump does, it tends to be something that's completely over the top anti-democratic, illegal, you know, overtly racist or whatever, and they still can't bring themselves to do it in the name of I don't know what. I mean, either they really have these deep feelings about America inside that they've never wanted to say. I mean, that's what I'm saying about Trump. I mean, Trump's people consistently basically run America down. Everything is so bad. Everything is terrible. It's just awful. I mean, bad, 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 bad. I mean, they hate America, if you ask me. I mean, they are doing exactly what they accused liberals or the libs or the Democrats or whatever of doing a decade ago. Oh, they just hate everything in America. They hate the military. They hate everything. They hate it's all so terrible. This is the greatest country on earth. Blah 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 blah. And now they're the ones doing it. They do it every day. He goes on and tells you how terrible it is, how awful it is. I mean, when you use a word like carnage in your inaugural address, that's all you need to know. And they're doing exactly what they've accused them of doing. And you were talking about this with Bubbles before, and we could go back, and I've explained it. And I said that we were due for one probably 7 or 8 years ago on this program when you started, which is every 50, 60, 70 years, we've had 4 or 5 in the history of this country of what historians call realigning elections, where old is new and new is old and left is right and right is left, and things happen that make you go, what? They used to be for this and they used to be for that. And an example to help everybody
I can't
understand it.
I can't figure out why the Republicans are the way they are now, because they are standing behind things that they always were traditionally against.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying is the electorate has had something happen, haven't figured that out yet or whatever, that made I think we're in 30 years, I think we can call it now, but in 30 years, they are going to say 2016 was a realigning election where the entire electorate and their traditions of the past decade since the last realigning election totally went awry, and the establishment of politics changed itself.
Here's the thing I don't get about the Republicans. If this were the Republicans of, say, 30 years ago, and you had a guy like Trump who cheated on his wife, was accused of raping a woman, was accused of any number of just horrible things, and all the things he did while he was in office, and the January 6th stuff, and the document stuff. 30 years ago, the Republicans would have gone apoplectic. They wouldn't even let this guy run for president under their banner. But now apparently they're the party of rape and pillage and of stealing documents, and they're also very pro-Russia. They're pro-Russia. Okay, that wasn't the Republican Party I knew about.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's what I'm saying is, prior to this, the last time we probably had a large-scale realignment election was, like 1968, for example, right? Democrats passed the Civil Rights Act and all this stuff, and all of a sudden, people who were Democrats were Republicans, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, and some people who were Republicans were now Democrats because of 1 or 2 major issues that made people, set other things aside and flip-flop. And we've reached a point where that kind of thing is happening. I mean, that's, Johnson passes the Civil Rights Act and says, yay, we passed the Civil Rights Act, and, Democrats won't win an election in the South for 50 more years. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, it changed the national political spectrum. I mean, I'm not a political science major or historian, but I'm well aware enough to know that kind of stuff happens, and it's happening now, if you ask me. I mean, and Trump was the cause of this one, which is fine. It's okay to have those, but these were far less over like politics and policy than they were just about hatred, revenge, I mean, just stuff like that. I mean, it's far less about policy and direction and things like that than it is about.
Well, they would never. The Republicans
cult-like
would.
behavior.
The Republicans of yore would never want to even associate themselves with somebody like Trump. You know,
Right.
I mean, They were always seemed to be ultra moral. Okay, you know,
Yeah.
God, country, you know.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, here's a guy who cheats on his wife. Goes out and cheats on his wife while she's pregnant, I think, was one of the cases. And to them, this is okay now? This is the guy you back?
Well, yeah, and I remember sitting in churches when I was younger, I don't know, 9, 10 years old or whatever, and hearing pastors adamantly tell the congregation, which they shouldn't have been doing, but they did anyway, that voting for Bill Clinton because of his character and his personal failures was damn
Yes.
near sinful.
Yes.
Was a snub against God, you know?
Right.
And I mean, Bill Clinton way back here, Trump, woo, way up here. You know? But fast forward 30 years, and you have pastors telling you have to vote for Trump. I mean, what? Yeah.
Well, you got this
You know?
guy. You got this guy. What's his name?
I don't get it.
George Santos. Okay. Perfect example. Here you got Kevin McCarthy, not defending George Santos, but saying,
Yeah. But
"Well, we're not going to do anything until he's found guilty."
but can't bring himself to just do the right thing, right? He just can't do it. I mean, they're
If I were the Republicans there, I would be pressuring Santos to quit, saying we're not going to do this for you, and we're not going to do that for you, and you can just sit here in Congress with your finger up your butt and try and wait out till the next election, in which you're going to be thrown out of office. There's no question about it. But you know, they should have sat. Kevin McCarthy should have sat down with him and said, "Look, for the good of the party." You know, you say you're here for the good of the party. Okay, if you're here for the good of the party, get out of here. But he's not saying that. And why? Because his one vote could just throw off the balance of the majority that the Republicans have in Congress.
Yeah.
You know. So that, you know, money talks, nobody walks, right?
And I mean, and he's a spineless person and a poor leader. I mean, you know, he's a person of no
Who, Kevin McCarthy
I mean,
or
you
George
know,
Santos?
Well, both. But I mean, that has been my problem with Republicans this last few years, even with the marginal ones. Okay, the Romneys and all the rest, is they're people of no integrity. Now, I didn't say, oh, but everyone who's a Democrat's full of integrity, though. No, that's something stupid that, you know, someone else can come on here and say. I didn't say that. But I said, in my mind, people in the Republican Party and their politicians are people of low integrity. I mean, Liz Cheney at least had, you know, at least kept her integrity intact by losing an election and then not crying about it and going home. But, you know, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't you'll just have to forgive me because I don't trust Mitt Romney or any of the others that are even, you know, they just tease you and make you think that they might possibly have woke up today as a decent human being, and then by dinner time they do something to make you say, they almost got me today.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, but they didn't. You know, I mean, maybe they got some people, but they didn't get me because I still don't trust them.
Now, the other Republican that that is somewhat in the race, even though he hasn't declared he's running, is DeSantis. And I'm wondering if he's even going to try to run.
I don't know. I mean,
but you know, his big problem is Bob Iger ain't taking crap out of him.
yeah.
You know, the other day Bob Iger was saying, you know, this guy's a fool. He said, why is he coming after us? We pay, do you know how much they pay in taxes every year, the Disney Corporation, to the state of Florida?
Oh, it's a few billions.
No, $1 billion a year.
Yeah, I was say it's a very high amount of money.
$1 billion a year. And they are the second largest employer in the state of Florida after the state of Florida itself.
Yeah, and I would assume, I don't know, but I don't even know if that includes the sales tax that they collect throughout all their entities.
It's just basically the property, whatever the
Right,
taxes
right.
are that you pay as a business.
You know, I
Okay.
mean, yeah, everyone who goes down there and spends money really racks up a decent amount of sales tax that they pay, you know, for the week or two that they're down there. You know, I mean, so yeah, I mean, I heard what you were saying about
There are a lot of states right now who are vying to get Disneyland or Disney
Oh, hell
World.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean-
they're saying. I think South Carolina's one that has said, "Come see us." You know,
why
any
not,
one
you
of
know?
these would be willing to hand them the state on platter, okay, and probably help them move. You know,
Yeah, I'm sure they'd give them free land. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I mean,
and if I were Iger, I would probably say, okay, and if you don't stop what you're doing, we're getting up and we're pulling up stakes, but we're not going to
Yeah.
give up the land. We're going to still hold on to the land so you can't do anything with it.
and all of this nonsense that has been forgotten about that started a year ago or whatever, right? Is all started when a private company simply spoke out and disagreed with something that the legislature in their state had done. I know DeSantis now is saying, "Oh, it's because they got all these powers they're not supposed to have and all that," right? But none of that was
wait a minute.
nothing
Those
until
powers,
they
but
spoke up.
those are powers that the state gave them when they
Yes.
went there and
Right.
said, you know, you can, everything that's in Disney World, you can have control over. You can you can have the fire department, you can have the police department. In other words, you have control over all of that. That was part of the deal that was made.
Yeah.
Now, if that was unusual, I'd say, okay, then maybe it's time after so many years the state gets some of that back. There are 1,000 other organizations in the
Yes.
state of Florida that have the
I know.
same kind of exemption.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think a lot of people know this. I've told you guys before, and I lived in Florida for a while, and I know the villages, which I lived very close to. The villages down there had it. There was a developer down there named Del Webb who owned some
I know
housing
who
developments like Spruce Creek, etc.
Del Webb,
Where-
California. Del Webb was in California.
Yeah, and he's known for building very high-end ones where you get. I think John Travolta had a home down there, and they had a little runway strip in the back.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford, people like that who fly themselves around and whatnot, they've all had that. But I'm saying that none of it was an issue until they spoke out in political opposition, okay?
Yeah.
And then they started this vendetta. And the same people that are on this jihad or whatever, just not that long ago, were the same people that were telling you, oh, Citizens United is fine because companies should have free speech. And then one of them used it, except it was free speech that didn't agree with them, and then suddenly didn't matter anymore.
Disney didn't do anything
You
wrong.
know.
All Disney did was disagree
Right.
with DeSantis. Disagree
Yes.
with something he was doing.
Right.
And that was about all the anti-gay
Which,
stuff. he
which,
was
like
doing.
I said, 10 years ago, the Supreme Court said they had the right to do, and all
Of
those very
course.
same people said,
No, but what this is purely reprisals against Disney not agreeing with DeSantis.
yeah,
You know,
right.
and their argument is you're trying to take economic sanctions against us simply because we didn't agree with you. And what you've done, and one of the things he claimed he was going to do, I mean, all this is in the suit they filed, was he claimed that, well, we could always move next door. We could move a prison next door to Disney World. Well, you know, that's a threat.
yeah.
You know. So, by the way, somebody wrote here that the thing that E. Jean Carroll is thinking of suing our boy for, Trump, is again another bold statement that she was a whack job. That's what he called her on the town hall. Well, that's actionable. That's you know. So, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, The Disney deal, I don't, I mean, DeSantis's deal with the nomination, I don't know. I don't see a path for him, honestly. I don't know if he wants to risk it. I know he's wildly popular there, but I don't find that same stuff is going to play very well,
Well, my
in a lot of
question, though,
places.
is how popular is he going to continue to be, having literally ruffled Disney's feathers, who is
Yeah,
a
I mean,
great contributor to the wealth of the state, to the income of the people there, and how many people work there that, want to vote for him?
Yeah, it's
hold
pretty
on,
big
hold on a
deal.
second. I'm going to go here and make sure this is somebody who says it is as they are. Matt, are you there? Oh, there he is. There's Matt Sheridan. Hi, Matt. Good to see you again.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, have you been hearing the discussion we've been having?
Oh yeah, it's the is it DeSantis and his stupid war with Disney?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was actually in the chat and I was writing like he's so like he's bought into this stupid like owning the libs thing where he might literally bankrupt his own state just so he could like I don't know, carry out a vendetta against Disney.
Well, how many people work for Disney at Disney World, and how many of them are voters? I mean, do you think any of those people are going to vote for DeSantis knowing that he's trying to threaten their jobs?
I mean, I did live in Florida, and there are a lot of fucking stupid people. So,
Well, if I look, you're talking to a guy who never loved Florida.
Me neither.
I heard a story a few years ago that because of global warming and the tides rising and everything, it may completely submerge Florida underwater. And I said, good riddance.
Yeah.
It can't happen
I
fast
didn't
enough
enjoy
for
my
me.
permanent residency there either. But,
I know that Jeff has a place he stays down there, but, what were you going to say, Jeff? No, turn on your mic, Jeff.
They sold the place.
Oh,
down
you
there.
you sold the place?
Yeah, my friends owned it, and our friends from Argentina come up, and Pam is going to see them over this weekend
Where?
because they're getting rid of all of their stuff.
Down in Argentina?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, they come to Florida,
Yeah.
to Miami, and they own
I
a
don't
whole
know.
bunch of property
I don't-
down there.
Yeah. Well,
And they're
Yeah.
pretty much saying, let's get out of here.
what is all that stuff you have in back of you, Matt?
I'm a New York Rangers fan. It's the hockey. Yeah. It looks like your shirt. It's just the animation of all the different players saying stuff like a comic book type of thing.
Oh, and you're a big fan?
Oh yeah, I'm a huge fan of the New York Rangers. I talk to Kevin sometimes in the chat about hockey. So
Yeah.
A screwed up season right now.
Oh yeah.
Playoffs are all
Oh,
jacked.
unbelievable. I was so mad Chicago got the #1 draft pick again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
75,000 it says.
Employees?
Employees. It says Walt Disney, the world largest single employer in the world. Well, that's in the world. For Central Florida. As of 2021, a staggering 75,000 employees work for Disney in Central Florida.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a large city.
That's
Fairly
a lot of
decent-sized
votes.
city.
That's a lot of votes in a state that doesn't have a huge population.
And all them dumb shit sit down there and say, you go woke, you go broke. Well, guess what? They could.
Was somebody explain to me woke?
Exactly.
I want to know if
They
I'm
don't even
woke.
know what it is, and they
Am-
sit
am-
there and
Yeah, I mean, ask them to define it. I don't think they
there is
can.
no definition for it. It's just some word they came up
What
with.
does woke mean? That you're drinking
And
some kind of Kool-Aid or something?
DeSantis uses it all the time. It's a
It doesn't even have to
campaign
like
word for
mean
it.
anything anymore. Like it's almost like some stupid word they use to just shut down any argument or to just label someone or something they don't like. And
Yeah.
it doesn't have to make any sense. It's like some weird, ambiguous, bad feeling they have, and it's like
Oh, they're
it's,
woke.
What is
They're
that
woke.
supposed to stop me? Like when they say, "Well, you're being woke," and I'm supposed to go, "Ooh, I'm so no."
Yeah, I got up this morning.
Well, it's their like little. I mean, it's their Republican bat signal or whatever.
It's a Republican bat signal.
Exactly
No,
what
I
they
mean-
said on it. I saw them do a little quick interview, and they were asking, "Well, what happens if Disney says?" Oh, one person says it'll be disabling for Florida if something happens, and then the other one sits in the bar and says, "Well, you go woke, you go broke." Damn it!
Yeah. Well, you're going to go broke. I mean, if they say adios,
Quite frankly, I'd like to see it.
I would love to see it. And
I mean, when DeSantis is gone and in the grave, Disney will still be swimming around in their swimming pools of money.
Yep.
I mean, you know,
Where they are.
I would assume. I mean, I could be wrong, but
you know something? Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Listen, Disney. Even when they have a bad year,
right?
It ain't like a bad year for you and I. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I can't foresee them, like filing for bankruptcy and ceasing to exist or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just like I said. I mean, when I'm dead, Disney will be rich. I mean, it's just
Well, although Disney, it's amazing what's happened to Disney over the years, is because Disney at one point was in bad shape.
Yeah, they
really
were
in bad shape. Just about the time that right after Disney died, and the son-in-law took over the company.
Yeah, and they got a little out of hand there for what, like they tried to buy up all these sports networks and all that. Like they bought a ESPN, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, they bought all that great big complex down there in Central Florida where the Braves had spring training and all that wild world of sports. And I mean, they spent hundreds of millions of dollars on all that shit.
Yeah.
They just got stupid, and then, I mean, I don't really know that much about Disney, but it just was like someone came in and said, maybe let's go back to making, kids movies. And
well, I mean, no, what they did,
getting rich.
The problem was they had lost. They lost the core of what they were doing. It wasn't until Eisner came in, that they began. He knew what Disney did best, and he knew how to make money out of it, and he turned that company around. And under him it was true. Did you ever realize that if you take the word Eisner and you change the first letter and the last letter, it becomes Disney? Yeah. But I felt he's a guy that turned the company around, but he was he was part showbiz and he was part business, maybe his statement should be, they don't call a show business for nothing,
Yeah.
Yes.
But
wait a minute, hold on a second. Jeff has something else to say. What?
I think it has to do with grandkids and children. And when everybody has a kid who's like 5 years old to teenager, they want to go there. And their parents want to take them there, and their grandparents want to take them there. And that's what the money is all about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when he built that thing in Florida, they said this is going to be a disaster because they figured it's swampland out there,
Yeah.
And it didn't turn out to be a disaster. It turned out to be an incredible business.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a mint where they make money.
Yeah.
I mean,
People
but
bring
like,
money and give it
if
to them.
if the government's going to take on a corporation or something, for a good reason, fine. 30 years ago, DuPont is dumping stuff in the rivers.
Yep.
And, we're going to, okay, fine. But, like, to go after Disney, I mean, I know that some states are big entities and everything, but I mean, like at Disney, like, go ahead and sue us. We got rooms full of lawyers. I mean, shit. The fucking people that answer the phone for the lawyers is a fucking lawyer. I mean,
Exactly.
I mean, they got nothing better to do anyway. Fuck it. Go ahead and sue us. I mean, you're not, like I said, if you're going to do that in the name of a good cause, fine. People will support you.
I love the fact that what's Iger is such a tough business guy. That he's not the kind that's going to back down to DeSantis by saying, oh, well, let's talk this over. Let's try and work this out. Oh, yes, okay, and kissing his ass. No. Iger's turning around and just going, "Fuck you! We're not putting up with this. We're suing you." You know, and then on top of that, he makes speeches at conferences and stuff where he puts DeSantis down, saying, "Is this guy crazy?" You know, all the money
really
we pour
cost
into
him
this
anything,
thing. What were you going to say, Matthew?
I was gonna say, are they real? Is there really? Are they close to moving out of the state?
Oh no. They haven't mentioned that yet. I would imagine that would come if DeSantis didn't back down. Okay, but you know they're going to sue him, and DeSantis is probably going to lose, and everything will be put back the way it was. In fact, it is the way it was. It's just that they're trying to say that they supersede Disney's. Disney just did some kind of action, and I don't know what it was exactly, but it was something where they took back all of this and said, we have our new board, and they're in here, and they're working, and we're in charge of all of this. Yeah. And what were you going to say?
So look at the chat. Scott put in there what the definition of woke is.
What the definition of woke is. From the dictionary, woke is an adjective derived from American vernacular English meaning alert to radical prejudice and discrimination. Well, what's wrong with that?
He says, how does that make any state go broke? Kudos, Scott.
God.
I don't have that on my
But are we continuing, Matthew? Did you have something else you wanted to say? Yeah, but I mean, it's just he's a moron. He's an absolute moron, and but these are the kind of politicians we have today, and this is the kind of politicians the Republicans are breeding. And I can't believe it because, you know, I never was a Republican and I never liked the Republicans, but I never felt a visceral dislike for them because I felt there were some good Republicans that I liked and some bad Republicans that I didn't like. But now they just also in lockstep with each other that it's ridiculous, you know, and they're going to bury themselves. What?
But it's hard to believe that they cannot see that it is not a winning formula to have the most powerful person in your party consistently refer to what you consider the second most powerful person in your party as Meatball Ron. You know, I mean, can you not? I mean, That's like the head coach of your team referring to his assistant coach of your team every day as, you know, that dipshit who works for me or whatever. I mean, that's not.
Well, he's missing out a good one. He should call him Ron DeSantos.
Right.
You know.
So I mean, how is that a cohesive unit? How is that a winning team? How is that an organization that can work together and get stuff done?
It's ridiculous. Hey, listen, that's it. I'm playing the theme here, and I don't know where everybody was tonight. But Jeff, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate the fact that Josh is here and Kevin is here. And Matthew, thanks for joining us and adding to the conversation. You know, what?
You can just call me Matt.
Matt. I mean, Matthew.
Matt.
Oh, Matt. Okay. Excuse
Thanks.
me. Oh, yeah, it is Matt Sheridan. I'm sorry, Matt.
That's okay.
I hate doing that. I hate when people call me Bernard. Anyway, that's it. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. Thank you to Josh, and thanks to Kevin, and thanks to Matt. Okay, and if you'll all give a big wave goodbye, I'll give a big wave goodbye at you. There they go, folks. That's our citizen panel for tonight. I don't know where everybody was, but boy, this just makes me wonder whether I should be doing this as much as I'm doing it. If I did it once a week, maybe people would call like crazy. Oh man, these allergies are just, forget it. I'm not going to complain about my health. Anyway, but it was a good show, and the people we had here were good people, and Josh is always a very intelligent guy to talk with, so it was okay. All right? Anyway, and to the rest of you who didn't join us tonight, okay. And stay tuned now for Jack Bishop. He's got the intersection, and he'll be taking your calls on Skype at Gabnet Live. I'll see you again on Monday with the pop-up show on Facebook, and then next Wednesday, same time, same station in life. In the meantime, as always, if you see her, Tell her I love her, okay? Good night, everybody.